This week, we celebrate Trans Week of Visibility, leading up to Trans Day of Visibility. From this past Wednesday to next Wednesday, we shine light on trans people and celebrate them. I must admit, it feels nice to be celebrated. I'm actually used to the feeling of visibility. As trans people, many of us bounce between feeling invisible and feeling hyper visible. Sometimes it's like I'm see-through. People look at me and still don't realize I exist. I felt it when people looked at me and assumed I was a woman. And I feel it now when people look at me and assume that I'm a cis man. When my transness is erased, I'm not sure I can fit within other people's expectations of me. But sometimes I don't feel invisible at all. Sometimes it's like there's a spotlight shining on me alone. The bright light, hot and disorienting. When something brings attention to my transness, if I bring it up or if someone else brings it up, the invisibility inverts, and I feel so visible, as if nothing is seen but me and my transness. Most of the time I feel this hypervisibility, it is not in celebration. Once, at a workshop for LGBTQ writers, I felt this invisibility and hypervisibility at once. "Where have all the butches gone?" one of the panelists was saying. "We are losing our beautiful butch women to transgenderism, and soon there will be none left. Transgenderism deludes women into thinking they can't be masculine and still be women. Well, we as lesbians say, we love masculine women. Don't make them men and let the patriarchy win." My face burned hot as a cold sweat came upon me. Everyone was laughing. I didn't understand what was funny. This was after I came out as trans, but before I started testosterone. Did they see me as a fellow lesbian, or had I somehow given indication that I was that trans person they thought was letting patriarchy win? If I stayed, was I betraying myself as a trans person? If I got up and left, would they know that I didn't belong? Why was it labeled LGBTQ if they hate people like me? Do I really belong in this community? This phenomenon is not limited to this writers' conference. I've seen it in classes at school where we dedicate our class session to LGBTQ inclusion, but then we only discuss how we might be inclusive of same-gender partnerships. I realized this feeling of hypervisibility, that giant spotlight shining only on you, that feeling exists whether we make ourselves visible or not. When I hear something transphobic, I feel it, even if the offender doesn't know I'm trans. Once I realized I can't ever get away from this feeling of hypervisibility, I decided to step into it. Witnessing transphobia and feeling that burn of the spotlight, I now step into the light, announce myself as the invisible made visible, and question the situation. "Hello, I noticed that this is labeled LGBTQ, but it only addresses same-gender relationships. Is there any trans material?" I've been asking this a lot lately. A common response I hear when I ask for trans-specific inclusion is that there's not enough time, space, or resources to properly include trans people. While we would love to create a truly inclusive space, there's not possibly enough time or space to do so to actually include everyone. I think about this a lot. To what degree is this true? Is there not enough space for transgender inclusion in LGBTQ spaces? Is there not enough space for transgender inclusion in Jewish spaces? Are there too many other people to include? And someone, somewhere, has to be left out? As one of the smaller marginalized identities, does it only make sense that the trans community is pushed aside for the larger majority? In this week's Torah portion, Aaron and his sons are anointed by Moses as the high priests of the community. And in preparation for the ceremony, God says to Moses, "Take Aaron and his sons, their garments, the anointing oil, the bowl of sin offering, the 2 rams, the basket of unleavened bread, and assemble the whole community at the entrance of the tent of meeting." Okay. And then it says, Moses did as God commanded him. And when the community was assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting, Moses spoke to them. Okay, wait a minute. Pause. Moses assembled the whole community at the entrance of the tent of meeting? The whole community. How is that possible? Well, the great Torah commentator and realist Ibn Ezra says it's not possible. Ibn Ezra says this verse is actually just referring to the heads of the tribes and the elders, not literally the whole community. While this does make more sense realistically, if this were the case, why wouldn't the Torah be written to say that? Plenty of times in the Torah it is written that the heads of the tribes were gathered, and yet here specifically, it says the whole community. Rashi, on the other hand, says it was literally the whole community. Rashi says this very incident was in fact one of the few times in the Torah when something small was able to contain something large. In this case, a small tent entrance could contain the entire Israelite people. But perhaps my favorite part of this isn't that the small tent entrance miraculously held everyone. My favorite part is that Moses did not question God. Moses didn't say, "That's impossible. There's no way everyone would fit." Moses didn't say, "While it would be amazing to include everyone, there isn't enough time or space to do so." Moses didn't even ask God how to do it. He just did it. Somehow he got it done, and the next thing we read, the whole community is there, waiting to bear witness to the anointing of the first high priests of Israel. I imagine there actually was a whole big to-do between those lines. I imagine loud horns to alert the masses, messengers having to travel to the far corners of the settlements to deliver the news, people running between tribes and encampments to make sure everyone is accounted for, the not insignificant trek to the tent of meeting, the long lines and shuffling of people as everyone arrives and gets situated in the space. It surely was no small task to assemble the whole community. And yet, the pertinent information is that God asked for everyone to be there, and Moses made it happen. When CBST went from a gay and lesbian shul to an LGBT shul, adding in the B and the T for the bisexual and transgender communities, no one expected an instantaneous change. Inclusion takes work. Little by little, more trans leadership was brought in, more trans programming was added, and trans members even felt empowered to create their own trans spaces within CBST. And with the Trans Jews Are Here convening that CBST is hosting next Wednesday, March 31st, we are able to enter into that space of celebratory visibility. The Trans Jews Are Here convening is taking that lonely spotlight and shining it on a disco ball. Instead of that hyper visibility being scary, isolating, objectifying, it becomes a celebration. We will gather in community, our trans community, our LGBTQ community, and our wider community of all people. And we will learn from so many trans teachers, celebrate trans existence, and work toward a better future of trans inclusion. Having the opportunity to be the director of this convening, my transness has been a place of wisdom, a badge of honor, and beauty to be witnessed. When we redirect that lonely spotlight to a disco ball, we shine a little light on everyone. Not only does no one single individual experience that overwhelming isolation, but if you pay attention, you'll notice that everyone is sparkling. CBST knew it had to do more to create safe spaces of belonging for trans Jews, to create this opportunity for us all to sparkle. And the Trans Jews Are Here convening was born. First taking place in person in 2019, and this year taking place online. The Trans Jews Are Here convening is one of the ways CBST is assembling the whole community at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Creating additional trans programming to create safe spaces of belonging is no simple task. Did we ask if it was possible to do this entirely online? Did we ask if we had the time or the resources? We knew it wouldn't be easy, but like Moses, we also knew it had to be done. Including the whole community is maybe not the most practical thing. It may be a strain on time and resources, but that feeling of everyone gathering together in community is priceless. And we know the only way to assemble the whole community is to make room for everyone to join.
To bless each other for thousands of years. They're traditionally written in masculine Hebrew, But today, we're offering blessing in gender-neutral Hebrew to give blessings to each of us. With this new language, we raise up all of our genders as holy, making room